Hey everybody, if you're having trouble visualizing and learning major scales, then try this. The first thing that we want to do is we want to learn the position of the root note of our scale along every single string. And then what we want to do is we want to recognize that our root note has a series of notes that are always attached to it. So an easy way to see the scale is to recognize that when we see the root, we can actually see a bunch of notes at the same time. For example, if we are playing in the key of A, and A is our root note, we should always recognize that there's always going to be a semitone that happens beneath the root. So when you see your root in any key, any major key that is, you should always see really two notes at the same time. You should see the root note and the seventh, or the semitone that's located beneath it. That's a big one. For example, if I played it up here, also in the A, I can trust that there's going to be a semitone beneath that, or right here as well. For other relationships, another thing that we should always recognize is that there's always a series of whole steps, really two whole steps that occur after the root, creating this kind of hot cross buns or three blind mice kind of effect here. So whenever I see a root, I always see basically scale degrees 1, 2, and 3 always attached to it. So if we combine the knowledge that we had from our first tip, which was the semitone below the root, and this three blind mice thing here, then we should have four notes that we always see in combination with the root, no matter where the root is, which is pretty helpful because that's actually most of the scale. As for another relationship that I always see, if we start on our root again, there's always a note that is a tone and a half below the root. And so this guy is located by a minor third here, and I like to think of this as the relative minor of the key, because it is. So if we are in the key of A, if I make this shape right here, where I go down a whole step and a half step, then I have the note A going down to F sharp. And so when I see this A note, visually, I'm putting together this guy in combination with this material and this material, which just makes my life a whole lot easier because I'm seeing all of this material all interconnected all at once. So if you're trying to piece together scales on one string at a time, or even scales in 2-octave box patterns, then really pay attention to these root notes here and really pay attention to these spatial relationships as they measure against the root. And when you're trying to move across strings too, try and see how these notes all relate to each other. So for example, if I'm working on the E string here in standard tuning, and I've got an A note right here, and I'm working on the A string, and I've got my A right here on the 12th fret, then I want to recognize that my hot cross buns, or scale degrees 3, 2, and 1 here, are going to intersect with the 6th of the scale, and they're in close vicinity to the 7th and even the root here. So if I'm doing that, then it makes just moving across and creating a more kind of homogeneous scale pattern a lot easier. As final tip, something that I always mention to students as well, is that the 7th degree has 4 whole tones, including the 7th degree, that are right beneath it. So that's a nice little thing to see as well, because it can just help you, again, to be able to learn some relationships to help you to piece together what the scale is like spatially. And finally, also learning the semitone relationships on the scale degrees 3, scale degree 4 can really help with piecing things together too. So personally for me, I find that dividing the scale up, or really focusing on scale degree 1 and scale degree 4 and learning where the semitones are between those two, can just be a really easy way of making these scales easier to see and easier to manage. So yeah, give that a go and try and work on this association thing. It sounds simple, but it will do you wonders. All right, folks, so there you have it. If you like this video, then please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as I put out new content very regularly. And if you want to support the channel, then please consider checking out my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you guys will have access to a ton of bonus content, like guitar tabs for all the riffs and stuff that I write, lesson notes, and chord diagrams from all my chord videos. So please check out the Patreon page. Finally, I also teach guitar lessons through Skype. There's a link to my email address in the description below. Thank you all for checking out this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.